It's 1846, and England is a country caught between two eras, with the Industrial Revolution in full swing in the cities. Factories are churning, railways are snaking across the landscape, and life is speeding up there. But out in the countryside, places like Acton feel like they're stuck in another century. The village is a patchwork of muddy lanes, thatched cottages, and endless fields, where the rhythm of life is dictated by the seasons and the harvest. Most of the people here are farmers or laborers, scratching out a living from the soil. Their hands are rough, their days are long, and poverty is a constant shadow. Families cram into tiny homes, and hunger is never far away. Disease is a familiar guest, too. Cholera and tuberculosis sweep through communities like Acton with grim regularity. When someone dies, it's often chalked up to natural causes with little fuss or question. Life in this world is especially tough for women, particularly those born into poor families like Catherine's. Your options are slim. Marriage is pretty much the only way to secure any kind of stability. If marriage isn't on the horizon, you might end up in domestic service, scrubbing floors and fetching water for someone wealthier. The class system is ironclad. There's no climbing the ladder, no dreaming of a better life unless you're born into it. In a village like Acton, gossip is the currency of the day. Everyone's watching and judging. A single slip-up can stain your name forever in this tight-knit community. But even in this rigid, unchanging world, something new is stirring. Forensic science is starting to emerge, with men like Dr. Alfred Swain Taylor pioneering ways to use chemistry to solve crimes. It's still early days. Most people don't even know what toxicology is yet. But cases like the one we're about to explore are about to show just how powerful this new science can be. Now, let's meet the woman at the center of our story, Catherine Moley, born in June 1829. She was born to William and Maria Moley, a typical Acton family, poor, hard-working, and crammed into a thatched cottage alongside two other households. William is a laborer, toiling in the fields or wherever he can find work. Meanwhile, Maria does her best to keep the family fed and clothed in their tough existence. It's a hard life, and the Moleys aren't strangers to hardship. When Catherine is just 9 years old, a dark cloud settles over the family due to her father's troubles. Her father, William, gets tangled up in a troubling incident in Sudbury, the nearby market town. He's drinking with an old man named William Kilpatrick one night, and when Kilpatrick turns up dead, people start pointing fingers. An inquiry eventually decides Kilpatrick probably took his own life, and William walks away without charges. But the whispers don't stop, and in a small village, suspicion sticks like mud, hitting the Moley name hard. Despite this rough start, Catherine grows up as a quiet, unassuming girl. She goes to the local charity school where she learns the basics: reading, writing, a bit of scripture, but she's not a standout student. People say she struggles with her lessons, that she's not the sharpest mind in the room. Still, she's pleasant enough, with a gentle way about her that makes her well-liked. By the time she's 16, in July 1845, she's ready to step out into the world, or at least as far as 7 miles away. She takes a job as a servant in the home of Mr. Birds in Bulmer, Essex, a common move for girls like her. It's hard work, up at dawn, endless chores, strict rules, but it's steady money. It also provides a roof over her head, which is no small thing. Every Sunday, she trudges back to Acton to see her family, now just her widowed mother, Maria, and her younger siblings, Thomas and Hannah. Maria's taken up washing clothes to keep the household afloat, and Catherine's small wages are a lifeline. Then there's John Foster, the man who'll soon step into Catherine's life. Born in 1822, he's 7 years older than her, a farm laborer working for Mr. Mines in Chilton, a village close to Acton. John's a solid, dependable sort, strong and hardworking. He's the kind of man his neighbors and employer respect. But his home life isn't so rosy. He shares a cramped cottage with his mother and 2 sisters. Here's where things get messy. Both sisters have kids born out of wedlock. In Victorian England, that's a scandal, a mark of shame that clings to the whole family. John probably feels it keenly, living in a village where eyes are always watching and tongues are always wagging. Marrying Catherine might be his ticket to a fresh start. It could be a way to build something respectable and leave the gossip behind. John's had his eye on Catherine for over a year by the time they tie the knot. He starts visiting her at the Moley cottage, and they take walks together, through the village, sometimes as far as Sudbury. It's not a grand romance. Catherine doesn't seem to feel the same spark he does. But she doesn't push him away either, and back then, love isn't always the point. Marriage is about practicality, about making a life that works. To the folks in Acton, they look like a decent match. They're two young people from the same world, ready to settle down. On October 28, 1846, Catherine Moley and John Foster say their vows at All Saints Church in Acton. It's a simple wedding, nothing fancy. Just friends and neighbors gathered in the little stone church, offering their blessings and maybe a few sidelong glances. Weddings are big news in a place like this. They're a community affair. People have opinions, and the chatter follows the couple. The couple moves into the Moley cottage after the ceremony, squeezing in with Maria and the younger kids. It's tight, but it's normal. Families stick together, pooling what little they have. For the first few days, things seem to fall into place. John heads out each morning to work the fields, coming home tired but steady, while Catherine steps into her role as a wife, cooking, cleaning, helping Maria with Thomas and Hannah. But barely a week into married life, something odd happens. Catherine announces she's off to visit her aunt in Penham, a village 20 miles away. She tells John she's never had the chance to go before, not with all those years in service. Now that she's married, she wants to make the trip, which seems a strange time to leave your new husband. John doesn't put up a fight, so off she goes, staying away for 10 whole days. Meanwhile, John keeps on in Acton, working and waiting. When she finally comes back, she slips back into her routine like nothing's happened. The neighbors might raise an eyebrow or two, but life rolls on. A couple of weeks later, on Sunday, November 15th, John mentions to his sister he's got a slight headache. It's not much, just a passing complaint, and he heads to work the next day without a hitch. By Tuesday, November 17th, he's back to his usual self, working hard and coming home in good spirits. Everything seems fine, normal, unremarkable. But that evening, November 17th, everything changes. Catherine spends most of the day at John's mother's place in Acton, chatting and passing the time. She gets back to the cottage around 5 p.m., saying she needs to make John's dinner. She decides on suet dumplings. Nothing fancy, just a filling, everyday meal you'd find in any rural home. The smell of it cooking fills the little space as John walks in, weary from the fields. He washes up outside, then sits down with Catherine and her little brother, Thomas, around 6 p.m. It's a quiet supper, no big talk, just the three of them eating in the flickering light of a candle or lamp. Not long after he finishes, John starts feeling off. He tells Catherine his stomach's burning, that he's queasy, and figures it's just something he ate not sitting right. He heads to the small bedroom he shares with Catherine on the ground floor, hoping to sleep it off. When Maria gets home later, she finds him in a bad way. Pale, groaning, clearly suffering. She jumps in to help, mixing up some gruel with a splash of brandy, thinking it might settle him. But as the night drags on, John gets worse. He's vomiting into a basin, his body twisting with cramps, his strength draining away. Here's where things get strange. Catherine doesn't stay with him. Instead, she heads upstairs to sleep with her mother, saying later she couldn't handle hearing John in pain. It's a choice that'll come back to haunt her, an odd move for a wife when her husband's so sick. Morning comes, Wednesday, November 18th, and Catherine checks on John. He's still alive, but barely. His face is ashen, his body limp. She knows she has to do something, so she sets out for Dr. Robert Jones in Long Melford, 2 miles away. She leaves at 8 a.m., but doesn't get to the doctor until 10 a.m., 2 hours for a short trip. No one knows why it takes her so long. Maybe she's rattled, maybe she's stalling. When she finally talks to Dr. Jones, she's vague. Says John's got nausea, some discomfort, but doesn't make it sound urgent. Stranger still, she doesn't even mention he's her husband, just calls him a patient. Dr. Jones figures it's English cholera, a common enough illness, and hands her 2 powders, one mercury with chalk, the other powdered rhubarb. He says he'll stop by later to check in. Catherine heads back to Acton, but she takes her time again, dawdling along the way. John's alone in the cottage, getting worse by the minute. When she gets home, she gives him just one of the powders, not both, and tends to him off and on. Maria comes back around 3 p.m. and sees John's taken a sharp turn. His breathing's shallow, his body's giving out. By 4 p.m., it's over. John Foster is dead, gone in less than a day from what seemed like a simple stomach ache. Dr. Jones shows up at 5 p.m., expecting to treat a sick man, and finds a corpse instead. He's stunned. John was supposed to be mildly ill, not dead. Something doesn't add up, so he makes a bold move. He cuts out John's stomach right there to take a closer look later. Then he reports the death to the coroner, Mr. Wyman, who calls for an inquest to figure out what happened. The inquest kicks off on November 21st at the Crown Inn, Acton's local pub turned temporary courtroom. The place is packed with villagers, curious and uneasy, but no one's thinking foul play yet. People die all the time, right? Catherine's there, a 17-year-old widow now, dressed in black and looking calm as she tells her story. She walks through the night John got sick, how she fetched the doctor, how he slipped away. She's steady, almost too steady, showing no tears or panic. Then Dr. Jones steps up and drops a bombshell. He's looked at John's body, and something's off. There are signs it might not be natural. Then comes the kicker. Chickens from a neighbor's yard that pecked at John's vomit and the leftover dumplings, they're dead too. The room buzzes with shock. People start muttering, eyes darting to Catherine. Mr. Wyman, the coroner, calls a halt to the inquest. He wants a full post-mortem and a chemical test on John's stomach, plus the chickens. This isn't routine anymore. A week later, on November 27th, the inquest picks back up, and Dr. Imago from Bury St. Edmunds takes the stand. He's done the tests, and the results are grim. There's arsenic, a lot of it, in John's stomach. The chickens have it too. John was healthy before that night. There's no disease, no accident to explain this. The jury doesn't take long to decide it's willful murder. Catherine's arrested on the spot, hauled off to jail as the village reels. It's worth noting the timing here. England's legal system is shifting in the 1840s. Coroners are getting sharper, inquests are leaning on science more, and this case is about to prove why that matters. Arsenic's everywhere back then. Rat poison, medicine, you name it. And it's sneaky, mimicking natural sickness. But not this time. The evidence is stacking up, and Catherine's in deep. The trial kicks off on March 29, 1847, at the Assize Court in Bury St. Edmunds, a picturesque market town 14 miles from Acton. Known for its abbey ruins and vibrant history, the focus that day is squarely on the courthouse, packed with villagers, journalists, and onlookers eager to witness the proceedings. The air crackles with tension as Catherine Foster's fate hangs in the balance. Judge Pollock, a stern and fair-minded figure, presides over the court, while Mr. Gordon leads the prosecution with razor-sharp precision, and Mr. Power defends Catherine, fully aware of the steep challenge ahead. Catherine enters the dock, dressed in mourning black, her pale face calm and her hands neatly folded. She pleads, "Not guilty," in a steady voice, her composure striking a stark contrast to the grim accusation against her. Mr. Gordon opens with a chilling declaration. This is a case of deliberate and cold-blooded murder. He claims it was committed by a woman who, under the guise of wifely duty, poisoned her husband with arsenic, framing Catherine as a calculating killer, promising airtight evidence. The prosecution's first witness is Dr. Robert Jones, the doctor who attended John Foster before his death. He recounts arriving at the Foster cottage, where Catherine described John's symptoms vaguely, never hinting at their severity, or even mentioning that John was her husband. After John's death, Dr. Jones removed his stomach, suspecting foul play. His testimony paints Catherine as oddly detached, a subtle but damaging strike against her. Next up is Dr. Imago, a respected surgeon from Bury St. Edmunds who performed the post-mortem. His findings are explosive. John's stomach contained enough arsenic to kill several men, and the same poison turned up in the chickens that pecked at his vomit and dumplings. This forensic evidence, cutting edge for 1847 Suffolk, captivates the jury. Dr. Imago explains the chemical tests that confirmed the arsenic, marking a milestone in courtroom science and bolstering the prosecution's case with hard facts. To hammer home John's sudden decline, the prosecution calls James Pleasance and William Steed, John's co-workers. They testify that John was in top form when he left work that day, cheerful, strong, and healthy, contradicting Catherine's claim of prior headaches and discomfort. The picture emerges of a robust man felled abruptly after a meal prepared by his wife. This tightens the noose of suspicion around her. The star witness, though, is Catherine's 8-year-old brother, Thomas Moley, the only other person in the house when John fell ill. His testimony could be the smoking gun, but it's fraught with risk, and the judge cautions the jury to scrutinize it carefully. If they doubt its reliability, they should discard it entirely. Thomas, small and nervous, whispers that he saw Catherine mix dumplings that day, pulling a paper from her pocket and adding a dark powder to the basin. He says she burned the paper afterward, noting that John's dumplings came from a separate cloth than theirs, and soon after eating, John was writhing in agony. This account is dynamite. If true, it explains the lack of poison in the house and points straight to Catherine. Mr. Power, sensing the danger, grills Thomas on cross-examination. The boy admits he can't tell time and fumbles some details, but his core claim holds. He saw her tamper with the food. The jury is left wrestling with whether to trust a child in a life-or-death matter. Marianne Chinery, the Fosters' next-door neighbor, adds another layer. She recalls Catherine visiting her cottage while Dr. Jones examined John's body, casually remarking that she wouldn't have married John if she'd gone to Bury St. Edmunds first. It's an odd, revealing comment hinting at regret, and Marianne also saw a hen eat a piece of dumpling in the yard and drop dead the next day, tying the forensic dots with chilling clarity. With their case laid out, the prosecution rests, and Mr. Power mounts Catherine's defense. He attacks Thomas's credibility, arguing that an 8-year-old under pressure might be mistaken or coerced, and highlights the absence of direct proof. No one saw Catherine buy or hold arsenic. He notes its common use in households for pests, suggesting John might have ingested it accidentally, even hinting at suicide, though it's a weak thread. His strongest card is motive. Why would Catherine, a newlywed with no apparent grievances, kill her husband? No abuse, no money, no lover, just a seemingly ordinary marriage? He urges the jury to demand more than circumstantial guesses. In his closing, Mr. Power pleads for reason over emotion, insisting the prosecution hasn't met the burden of proof, declaring, "This is a court of law, not a court of public opinion," as a final bid to sway them. Judge Pollock then sums up, noting that motive isn't required for guilt. Sometimes actions defy logic. He instructs the jury to weigh Thomas's words carefully. After a tense 20-minute deliberation, the jury returns with a verdict: guilty. Catherine is convicted of willful murder, and the courtroom falls silent as Judge Pollock sentences her to hang. She remains stoic, her expression unchanged, and is led away. In prison, on April 12, 1847, Catherine confesses in writing to poisoning John with arsenic, offering no motive, though speculation later swirls about a secret lover with no evidence. On April 17th, at 9 a.m., she faces the gallows in a meadow outside Bury St. Edmunds prison before 10,000 spectators. The last woman hanged in Suffolk, she dies calmly at 17, her body buried unmarked in the prison grounds. This case echoes through history as a forensic pioneer, with arsenic detection setting a legal precedent. Yet it also probes deeper themes: justice, gender, and the constraints of Victorian life. Was Catherine a desperate girl trapped in a loveless marriage, or a cold killer? Her silence leaves us guessing, a haunting footnote to a village tragedy.